Help, help, I'm stuck in a box. Hey guys, it's Skybird, and I wanted to make this video. I want to talk very briefly, hopefully, about SCCBS for Bionicle and why I don't think it works. This is more of like a full-fledged video on this. I want to talk about like all of the problems that I think that it has from a manufacturer's standpoint, not necessarily a fan base standpoint, because you may want these sets, but you can't speak for everybody. I can't speak for everybody, and LEGO can't please everybody. We know that. That's just the nature of fandoms, right? Of course, in this case, it is an established theme, being Bionicle, an established IP, but it's still not going to be like as well known as something like Marvel properties, right? Which have been huge in movie theaters over the last like decade and a half. And of course, with IPs like Ninjago, which has been going strong for well over 10 years now. And also, of course, like Star Wars, right? All those are massive IPs doing things that are roughly similar to this, that have characters that are more established than, unfortunately, Tahu, as much as I hate to admit it, and also, you know, might have more attractive things that come with them. Now, I think that this is a good set overall, and I think this is actually something LEGO can do, not as a theme, though, but sort of as like honorary sets every handful of years or whatever, and honestly, I would be really in favor of them even just giving us, you know, mask pieces in separate Bionicle builds. Talk about what I would propose to replace this in a minute, and I have touched on it in other videos. So I talked about this over on Discord for a handful of minutes, and I'm going to sort of recite what I said over there. But if you want to check out the Discord, you can do so. That is linked in the description below. It's perfectly free. And this is in the Your Creations channel specifically. I'm just going to read it verbatim. So I said basically that I think that the main issue is that a single limb in the system building style in SCCBS is going to consist of several pieces, whereas in many Bionicle sets, taking for example like, oh, you can't really see him right now, but Nuju Metru over in the corner there, his limb is aesthetically pleasing, but it's only a shoulder pad, the connector directly underneath it, the arm itself, the hand, and then whatever weapon is in it. That's 5 pieces. Yes, there are axles too to connect it to the body, but I'm not even worried about that. Whereas if I look at a set like this with Tahu here, how many pieces make up this arm? And if you compare that to the original Tahu being 1 piece making up its arm, this is significantly more. That's a higher parts count. That raises the price of a set. And I think that Bionicle is something that really benefits, I've talked about this before, really benefits from being just about the cheapest that LEGO can market it at while still making a profit, because it is a character-driven franchise, right? And obviously it's driven by its building and stuff too, but you have to really associate with the characters. But because it's also sort of a team-based thing, you want to get more characters. If this is $20 for this, that's cool. But if you get this, and you get Liwa, and you get Onua, that's $120 just assuming they're all marketed at the same price. Yeah, you'd get the little Matoran with them, and that's cute. But then you also look at the builds and think, oh, well, Liwa's build was near identical to Tahu's, and Gali's build was near identical to... Right? So it starts to get repetitive after a while. And is that worth it? You know, at what point, and... where do you stop? How do you relay that consistency all the way across the board? And where do you draw the line to say, okay, now we're going to branch out and do something completely new while still being a identifiable Bionicle character? There's just so much in this. I really have mad respect for LEGO for even designing this one as it is, because it's a gorgeous set. It's obviously not perfect. It's never going to be. You're not going to please everybody. It's just not possible. But it's still a perfectly fine display piece as well, right? Going back to Discord here for a minute, I said like Vizon, from Vizon and Fimbrak. I said it's a good looking character, and his limbs consist of like maybe 5 pieces each. Yes, he has a built-up weapon. We're not even worried about the weapons here. I wasn't counting the weapon when I talked about Tahu on screen either. But doing that with system sets while keeping the arm or the part you're building looking nice, balancing its parts count with the build and its proportions with the build, and keeping that design from being reused over and over and over again is so difficult. Because yeah, although there's like nearly infinite pieces you could choose from LEGO right now, people are going to get bored if every limb looks nearly identical to this one or has just very slight variations. However, if you go the opposite direction and you make one limb from your early run of like a Tahu character like this, 8 pieces, but then later on you go with 3 pieces and you introduce a specialized piece for it, or go the opposite direction, make it 20 pieces, it's no longer consistent with what you've established already. Does that make sense? So it's just really difficult to do. It's a very dangerous balance. It's a dangerous game to play. So what I would propose instead, and I'm going to block my face here in a minute, so don't worry about seeing me too much, is this right here. Yes, I've touched on some of these builds in past videos already. There are 2 more that I still need to get to. They'll be on their own separate videos. This might look like 6 different sets. It's actually 18 sets here, but for the sake of this video, we're just going to pretend there's 6, right? 1 for each of the villages, including fire. Well, actually, let me show you on screen. Fire, ice, earth, sand, or I say sand, stone, water, and jungle, right? Air, whatever. So I'm sorry, I've been focusing a lot on Glatorian stuff lately. So the reason I think something like this works is that it still pays homage to the characters, right? These are identifiable characters. It's a bit hard to see on screen right now, I know, but you can see Liwa and Matau there. You can see Gali and Nokama there. And some of the other characters aren't immediately identifiable, but are nods to existing characters. All of this is, I put a lot of thought into it. So there's a lot of Easter eggs. Don't worry about it. However, at the same time, while this is identifiable and while it is somewhat easy to sort of get behind these character designs, I know again that it's not going to please everybody. That's not a possible task. That's also not my burden, right? This is a passion project of mine. It pleases me. That's all it had to do. But at the same time, the reason I think this also works is because it's kind of a lot of things. It's designed to please as many people as I can, right? So there are small Technic builds in the form of each of the Rahi. Each of these sets comes with at least 1 Rahi, plus there's another Rahi introduced with all the small scale sets. So some of these you might see 2 Rahi, some you might see 3 Rahi. It really just depends. Obviously, this is not the complete picture here, but it's close enough, right? And with the exception of just 2 of those Rahi, every single one of them has a function. I spent a long time designing these if it wasn't obvious already. Now I know that if I propose this as an idea to LEGO and LEGO was to pick it up, it's not a possibility, but if they were, assuming that I had a crystal ball and I had my wish, and obviously many of these things would be changed, many of these things would be simplified, and that's totally fine. I completely understand that. I am not a LEGO designer. I don't know all the rules, but I think this does a pretty good job to relay the idea. Second, this has much less competition on the market right now from LEGO. A, because these are natural scenes, which LEGO is not really doing a lot of right now. Yeah, you see them on occasion in certain building themes. I look at the Ninjago like Islander theme, for example, and there were a handful of sets from that. And there are a handful of sets from other themes that have something kind of like this, but they don't lean too heavily into this. Also, these each function as board games, so there is a bit of value there, but they don't need to be board games. They also function as pretty aesthetic dioramas on their own as well. And each of the actual sets, each of the builds, the system builds, also has functions built into it as well, action features built into it. For example, the Earth set, which is kind of the bluish gray one on screen here, has a working minecart rail with a minecart that goes around it and the Bat Rahi that goes with it. I've talked about this. I love it so much. The Bat Rahi can also ride on that rail, and when it rides the rail, its wings flap. I love it. It is like my favorite thing I've probably ever created. I'm gonna link that video at the end of this one too, probably. Anyway, point being though, the reason I think that this works out well enough is because I think it pleases enough Bionicle fans. It's not going to please everybody. It also, as this is obviously a nod to 2001 Bionicle, it includes golden masks, yada yada. It sort of plays off of that aesthetic, and I think that's one reason that it works so well, because although it has Rahi, they're not rehashes of Rahi that we've seen already. Yeah, they're homages, sure. You've got the Nui Rama looking Karini build from the Jungle or Air set. You have the Mawaka looking Kuma, which comes in the Avalanche set. I can't think of the names right now. Don't worry about it. And so there are nods, but they are still each exclusive and each 100% new builds, meaning that from this, you're getting new builds for Bionicle, but that still pay homage to old builds without alienating it. And that's really hard to do, which is why I think Rahi is a good idea. Rahi work because they introduce functions, if that's something that pleases you. Rahi works because they teach you something new about, Technic, for example, because these are Technic built Rahi, and so you get that sort of hybrid building system, that hybrid building experience too. I've talked about that in the videos as well. And on top of all of that, Rahi also work because by their very nature, they are unique. right? If I introduce a character like Tahu, Tahu has been established. We've seen a dozen different Tahu builds, not including fan builds. Obviously, I'm being a bit hyperbolic, but you've never heard of a character like the Kuminum. I don't know. I'm just making a word up on the fly, right? So, like, how do you introduce new characters to a Bionicle building system? It's difficult. The other way that I think this works too, going back, is because you also saw that there are Matoran here, and Matoran being sort of villagers that live on the island, but they're nondescript, means it's easy to introduce new characters in the form of those Matoran because they don't need to be established. They don't need to be a Jaller or a Takua or a Maku to make sense. They just need to be characters that exist on this island. Now, Jaller and Takua and Maku are also all in this. Don't worry about it. Point being, the reason I think that this works at its best, lastly, is also that it honestly introduces very few new pieces. Yes, it introduced mask molds that are compatible with minifigure heads. You saw that the minifigure bodies did not have anything on them. They'd probably have a print, or, to please some people, I honestly don't care about this, an armor mold that is designed to pay homage to the original Mata torso. I do not want a custom torso, though. I don't want a robot torso or anything like that. That's not the point of this. And obviously it is limiting on its own. That's not to say I wouldn't accept it. Again, I'm not a Lego designer. I'm not really a parts designer, especially not for minifigures specifically. So surely Lego could come up with something that I would like. That's not the point I'm making. But the reason I think minifigures work is that it's an established system on its own. People collect minifigures, and at the very least, it may not be the thing that you want, but would you be happy if Lego revealed tomorrow that they were going to make some Bionicle minifigures and put them on shelves? Which is also one reason why this is 18 sets and not 6. I understand that some of these sets are enormous. The Earth set is like nearly 1,000 pieces. The Avalanche set is over 1,000 pieces. Again, Lego would definitely condense that. But I also know that those are not the most affordable numbers. Like I said, I think that it needs to be the affordable side of the price range, right? And so the small sets that come with these, like, for example, this little guy right here, which is actually a game in and of itself, work because these are just like $5 builds or $10 builds. Each village comes with two. They don't come with two. Each village has two of these products that you can buy separately that work to expand your game and also give you desirable characters like Jaller, like Takua, like Maku, like Huki, like Hafu, like etc. Those are the ones that actually give you the original 12 McDonald's Matoran. I know that there's only 6, but there are at least 12 established characters because there's at least 2 for every village. You get the point I'm getting at. And on top of that, for each village, there's one system-based set that adds to the game, that adds to the game board. And there's one Rahi set, which gives you another Technic build. So that way you have a choice as a consumer, because you might buy these for the Rahi, you might buy these for the diorama. Anyway, again, separate video. Okay, so hopefully I've answered some of the questions here. Like I said, I do take the conversation a little bit further over on Discord, but I also keep it a bit short too. So you can head on over there and take a look. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe because it does really help the channel out. And of course, you can join the conversation down in the comments below, or again, check out that Discord linked in the description. Comments also help the channel. Notification bell helps the channel. All of it helps the channel, and it's free. You're just helping a little guy on the internet. Anyway, and the last thing I wanted to say too was you can also check out Instagram and Patreon if you want to help support channel kids perks. Let me know your thoughts on this one. This is probably one of the more important videos I think I'd love to hear your thoughts on, because I know that we're all going to disagree, but that's a good disagreement. Let's keep the discussion cordial, and let me know your thoughts. Yeah, take care, guys.